Tonight on Sports Night in Auburn, up to speed on the past 2 weeks of men and women's basketball ahead of the SEC tournament and March Madness.
We also got you covered on the top 25 ranked baseball and softball, as well as the end of the regular season for equestrian. Sports Night in Auburn starts right now.
Auburn, Alabama, the best atmosphere in all of college sports.
He drives and slips.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Gone deep to the left.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Sideline. Going to the
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn. And welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Jack Corbett.
And I'm Justin Stuckey. Jack, you weren't supposed to be in the seat, but I'm glad you are, man. This duo is going to put on the show tonight.
A little last-minute substitution. On a real note, hopefully Faith feels better.
Yes.
Her voice did not sound like Faith. When I walked in, I was like, this isn't the person I know. This isn't the Faith I know.
We miss you, Faith. We'll see you back here next week. But you guys got this duo today.
Faith, you can have my spot next week. We'll do a little swap right here real quick. But starting things off with men's basketball, before we get into the upcoming SEC tournament, let's check out how the Tigers finished out the regular season. I was able to travel to Rocky Top to see Auburn take on number 4 Tennessee. Let's check out my recap of the game. On Wednesday, the Auburn Tigers traveled to Rocky Top to take on the number 4 Tennessee Volunteers. The Tennessee Volunteers were on a 4-game win streak coming into this game and looking to take number 11 Auburn as their 5th victim in a row. Tennessee wins tip-off, and from there, this game was back and forth the entire way through. As both teams vied for victory, there were 8 ties, 12 lead changes, and Auburn's first buckets on the board were from this Joleigh broom hook and this tough Aiden Holloway layup. Tennessee came out of the gate hot, with Jonas Adu scoring 10 in the first half and being a dominant force down low that Joleigh Broom just could not handle. Adu would score 6 unanswered points before Auburn finally retaliated and got back into this first half. KD Johnson's patience on this layup gave him the tough and one opportunity to put the Tigers within 3 points. Later in the first half, Dalton Knecht would bring the ball down the court and hit a 3 right in the eye of Lior Berman, his first on the night and a preview of the historic night that was left to come. A big storyline before this game is, would the Tigers have Jalen Williams available against Tennessee? Williams did return Wednesday night for the Tigers, playing 21 minutes and scoring 12 points from the field on solid efficiency. Going into halftime, the Tigers would only trail Tennessee by 4 after Denver Jones scored 7 straight points for Auburn. In the second half of this game, it was the battle of the superstars. Joleigh Broom versus Dalton Knecht. These two guys went at it from the jump. Two vastly different players that share one common trait: the ability to score. Broom went to work in the post, bidding Tennessee center adieu as he was on his way to 16 second half points. However, we are in Rocky Top, we are at Thompson Bowling Arena, and we even have the legendary Grant Williams in attendance. Tennessee security guards had to grab the fire extinguisher from behind the stadium because Dalton Knecht was on fire. 27 second half points. When the Auburn defense gave him space, he pulled up for 3. And when the Auburn defense closed that space down, he did this. The state of Tennessee lost their minds. And after this, Auburn began to double and triple team Knecht in any effort to stop the hot hand. However, Knecht can facilitate just as good as he can score and found Zakai Ziegler on multiple threes to ice the game and give Tennessee the 92-84 victory. After the game, Bruce Pearl could only commend the legendary performance by Dalton Knecht.
Obviously, Dalton was terrific. He was really hard to stop one-on-one. He made a lot of tough shots. Joleigh Broom did everything he possibly could offensively, and we had some pretty good balance. Again, you score 84 points in here, you should be able to win.
For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Jack Corbett.
Looking to bounce back after that loss and also avenge their previous loss to Mississippi State, the Tigers took on the Bulldogs inside Neville Arena. I had the opportunity to go to the game. Here's my recap of the matchup.
Spring break kicked off inside Neville Arena as Auburn played host to the Mississippi State Bulldogs. With the return of Jalen Williams to the starting lineup, Auburn looked to make a big statement in this SEC home matchup. What goes up must come down, and this circus shot by Chad Baker-Mazara hit nothing but nylon as Auburn started off hot. Joleigh Broom, who's been a consistent for the Tigers all season, makes his way to the bucket for a tough finish. As the current Tigers balled out, future Auburn basketball star Tahai Pettyford made his way to Neville Arena. With his minutes increasing as of late, Channing Johnson showed just why he was one of Auburn's top priorities in the transfer portal this offseason. After knocking down this big-time three and this emphatic dunk in the paint, Channing Johnson gave Auburn all momentum in the first half. Dylan Cardwell hosted his own block party as he sent Josh Hubbard's shot deep into the stands. And what would Auburn basketball be without little KD Crazy? The senior guard knocks down the shot, stares down the Mississippi State bench, flexes on everybody, and sends the jungle into an absolute frenzy. And this three ball by Channing Johnson was the icing on the cake for Auburn as they took a 39-22 lead going into the half. But the Bulldogs made a huge surge in the second half, cutting Auburn's lead down to just 7. At the hands of Josh Hubbard and Shaquille Moore, they gave Mississippi State the life that they needed to start out this second half. All momentum was swinging Mississippi State's way. That is until Joleigh Broome decided to pull the plug and knock down this three, hyping up the Neville Arena crowd. The name of the game was shot making, not shot taking, and that was evident in these big-time buckets from Denver Jones and Lior Berman. You could say that Trey Donaldson is making his campaign to change the name of Pearlville to Lob City after this big-time alley-oop to Dylan Cardwell. And this shot by Chad Baker-Mazara was the final nail in the coffin as Auburn wins the game 78-63. Here's Coach Bruce Pearl after the game.
My emphasis to the guys right now, it's March. It's March. And it's time to, make shots, not take shots. And guys been putting in the work. And that's what it takes to win.
I'm Justin Stuckey, Eagle Eye TV.
Next, Auburn traveled to Missouri for the SEC road finale last Tuesday. With Mizzou winless in conference play, Auburn was heavily favored to win. They did just that, taking home the win with 101 points to Mizzou's 74. This was the 4th time this season Auburn hit 100 points and the 2nd time in SEC play. With a close score of 44-39 at halftime, Auburn went on to outscore Mizzou 57-35 in the final 20 minutes. This marked the most points the Orange and Blue scored in a half this entire season. And in this impressive offensive showing, 5 Auburn Tigers even scored double figures. Joleigh Broome led the pack with a team-high 17 points. This was his 21st straight game scoring in double figures. Jalen Williams and Chad Baker-Mazara were next each with 15 points, while Dylan Cardwell matched his career high with 12 points, even knocking down a three-pointer in the final minute. Lastly, Denver Jones rounded out the Tigers in double figures with 10 points of his own. This win led Auburn to finishing with a winning record on the road in the SEC for the 3rd time in the last 7 seasons with a 5-4 record.
Finally, in the last game of the regular season, the Tigers took on the Georgia Bulldogs for Senior Day at home. With a double bye for the SEC tournament at stake, this was a must-win for Auburn. The Orange and Blue clinched that double bye with a 92-78 victory over Georgia that ended Auburn's regular season on a high note. This win was highlighted by leading scorer Denver Jones. Jones finished with a season-high 21 points, all from the three-point line. He made 7 of 10 threes and shot almost 78% from the free throw line. Also contributing to the win was the Tigers' 29 assists on 33 field goals. 10 players ended with at least 1 assist. This included Trey Donaldson's 2 assists, which marks his first career season with over 100 assists. This game led Auburn to finish in a 4-way tie for 2nd place in the SEC behind the regular season champions, Tennessee Volunteers. Auburn tied with Kentucky, Alabama, and South Carolina for 2nd place. Not only was this game important for seeding in the SEC tournament, but it also honored 6 seniors on the team. Dylan Cardwell, KD Johnson, Chris Moore, Joleigh Broome, Carter Sabera, and Jalen Harper were all recognized before the matchup. This also marked the last home game for graduate students Lior Berman and Jalen Williams.
The final top 25 AP poll of the regular season came out yesterday, with Auburn moving up 1 spot from 13 to 12 after going 2-0 on the week. Let's take a look at where other teams landed. Justin, what you got for me?
Hey man, this is a pretty good graphic. The last top 25 of the season. What are your thoughts first?
Oh, okay. We'll switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, man, I got to throw it to you.
I really like number 17, Gonzaga. They're tied for the highest win streak in the top 25 with Houston. They've won 9 in a row. Just beat St. Mary's, another top 25 team. They're playing them again tonight at 8 p.m. That'll be a huge test. But I think if there's any time you're going to get high, it's better be before March Madness.
For sure, for sure. I like Kentucky. They made a big jump in this week's poll, going up 6 spots. I think that they're a really significant team. You know, they picked up the wins against Auburn at home, against Tennessee at home. They may be a dangerous team. And speaking of Kentucky, SEC championship's coming up. What are your thoughts?
I'm taking Tennessee. And honestly, for me, it's a no-brainer. The Rocky Top package, going to see Dalton Connect in person drop 39. I had goosebumps
Yeah.
watching that game.
Yeah.
I had chills sitting there. And I don't think there's anyone that can stop him, truly. No one.
To me, I think the SEC Championship tournament in general is a toss-up. But like I said, I like Kentucky. I feel like they're the dark horse in this tournament. You can't go against Coach Cal. Antonio Reeves, 20 points. You know, they're really doing their thing. So I'm gonna go with Kentucky.
All right.
So we're gonna see. We'll
See what happens.
Let us know what y'all think. Tweet us.
EETV_sports. With the regular season done, postseason awards were announced yesterday, and 3 Tigers earned recognition. First, Joleigh Broome earned 2 honors. He was named to the All-SEC First Team and the SEC All-Defensive Team. Broome is the only player in the SEC currently ranked in the top 10 in scoring and rebounding, and just the 5th player in program history to be named to the SEC All-Defensive Team. Next, for the first time in his college career, Jalen Williams got a spot on the All-SEC second team after 5 years on the Plains. This comes after a historic year for Williams, holding multiple school records, including winningest player in Auburn history and most career games played ever. Finally, freshman Aiden Holloway was the last Tiger to be honored, earning a spot on the SEC All-Freshman team. He currently holds a team-best assist-to-turnover ratio and is the 5th leading scorer for Auburn.
We aren't done with the honors just yet. Not only was he named first team All-SEC, but Joleigh Broome was also named as one of 15 finalists for the John R. Wooden Award. This award is given annually to the most outstanding men and women's college basketball players. Broome also became the 14th All-American in Auburn basketball history on Monday when he was named to the All-America third team by the Sporting News. In his first year on the Plains, transfer Cheney Johnson was named to this year's SEC Community Service Team, which serves to recognize the accomplishments of student athletes beyond the court. Johnson served the Auburn community in various ways, including participating in the Youth for Christ House Project and visiting the East Alabama Regional Detention Center.
Before we head into the break, let's take a look at reporter Micah Farmer's draft evaluation of former Auburn safety Jalen Simpson.
Thanks, guys. Welcome back to Weekly Draft Evals, and this week we've got Jalen Simpson. If you watched any Auburn football at all this year, this is a guy whose first strength is going to be pretty easily recognizable, and that's that he is a ball hawk. A ton of interceptions this year, led the country for a while over the course of this season, and it felt like every game Jalen Simpson would get an interception. It was just like clockwork for the Tigers defense this year. I think that skill will translate to the next level. He's very good at finding angles to the ball, going up, making plays on the ball, and coming down with it, obviously. Then he's also an above-average athlete, tested really well at the combine, was top 5 for safeties in every drill he took part in, the 40, the vert, and the broad jump. Also, he has great trigger versus crossing routes. This is a guy who's going to run right down on a receiver, be able to come back from his safety perch back over the top and really trigger down on and break the ball up on those routes, which brings us right on to the next point, which is his catch point defense. Along with his ball hawking ability, he's very savvy at the catch point, able to knock the ball out, able to disrupt the receiver, and I think that's something that's really going to benefit him at the next level. However, Simpson also has some big weaknesses, notably against the run. He does not take good angles to the ball a lot of the time. He can also get bullied off of the play by blockers, which is not really going to cut it at the next level. I know coverage, at least for me, is more important than run defense for a DB, but it's still a vital part of the game. He also has a bit of a hitched hip swivel. When he's in phase with a receiver, that hip swivel you want to do to really follow a route up the field and adjust to a receiver cut, he has a weird hitch in it that's going to slow him down a lot of the time on coverage like that. He also can be very over-aggressive. The ball hawking ability is obviously there, but it can be feast or famine. He'll go for a pick, miss, and all of a sudden it's a 75-yard touchdown. So that's really the big drawback for him, along with that lack of ability versus the run. Because of that, I think he fits best in the NFL as a nickel or dime player that's going to come in obvious passing situations and be a guy you can just kind of hang back over the top, let him read, react, make a play. I think he's going to be a day 3 pick. I don't think he'll start right away wherever he gets drafted. I think he'll be a good backup, though, and a good rotational player that can eventually develop into an average starter. Next week, we're finally moving out of the secondary, but staying on the defensive side of the ball as we get into Marcus Harris. Back to you guys.
Be sure to head to Eagle Eye's website for the full evaluation. When we come back, we will discuss and catch up on Auburn women's basketball, but finally, it's trivia time.
Oh yeah. How many times has Auburn women's basketball made it to the championship game of the NCAA tournament? A0, B1, C2, or D3?
Let us know what you think the answer is on our Instagram stories and on our X. You are watching Sports Night in Auburn. We will be right back. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Jack Corbett.
And I'm Justin Stuckey. If you guessed the answer D, then you're correct. Auburn's women basketball has reached the NCAA tournament title three times. The game 3 times. So sorry. But Auburn has never won a title game. But it was able to earn their way into 3 straight championships in 1988, 1989, and 1990. With 21 total appearances in the tournament, the last time Auburn got the invitation was 2019. Jack, that's quite the drought. But do you think the girls will end that drought this year in dance?
2024 is the year. I think it's happening. They're having a watch party, so they feel pretty good about it. I was doing doing a little research, ESPN bracketology. They think Auburn's going in, and one of their bubble teams that's right on the edge is Mississippi State. We just beat them by 20 or 19.
That's a big dub right there.
That's a big dub. That's a huge dub. So I think Auburn's getting in there. I think we're going to see a little women's basketball March Madness.
I think they're going to dance as well. They made some waves in all of college basketball when they beat LSU at home. Beat them by 5.
Yeah.
Then went on the road and only lost by 5. Now the SEC championship, that was kind of a bad start for them. But they beat Arkansas in the first round by 19 points. And they lost to Arkansas earlier in the season. I think that game right there punches their ticket to this year's dance.
100%. Totally agree with you. First off, on senior night, Auburn defeated Mississippi State 77-60 for the last game at home this season. After 4 years on the Plains, Honesty Scott Grayson closed out her career at Neville in the best way possible with a career-high 32 points. Her outing tied Blanche Alverson's Neville Arena point record of 32 points that was set in 2013. Seniors Honesty Scott Grayson, Taylon Collins, Jemiah Mingo Young, Kiana Gaines, and Carson McFadden were all recognized before the game. With coverage from the game, here are reporters Morgan Sims and Joleigh Kasmiskie.
It's the final home game of the season for the Auburn women's basketball team as they host the Mississippi State Bulldogs at Neville Arena. It was senior night for Honesty Scott Grayson, Taylon Collins, Jemiah Mingo Young, Kiana Gaines, and Carson McFadden. These 5 Lady Tigers have made a huge impact on the Auburn women's basketball program. The Tigers look for their 6th home SEC win in Neville Arena. Right off the bat, sophomore Caitlin Duhon drives to the basket for 2. And right after her comes Honesty Scott Grayson that does what she does best. Throughout the entire night, Auburn showed us that sharing is caring. Mingo gets her own rebound, swings it out to Grayson, and Grayson passes it to Duhon for her to finish the job. Honesty Scott Grayson is playing like it's her last game of the season as she goes down the court and scores another 3 in the first quarter.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs weren't too quiet all night either, as they were aggressive in the paint and put up a hard, strong fight against the Tigers. But the Tigers held their own as they closed out the first half with a steal from Collins and an assist from Mingo Young to Scott Grayson for the layup. It was all Auburn the second half. Honesty Scott Grayson continued to light up the court. Auburn won 60-77, closing out the season with the victory over the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Morgan Sims.
And I'm Joleigh Kasmiskie.
Closing out the regular season, Auburn traveled to the Swamp to take on the Florida Gators. The Tigers took home the win with the final score of 77-74. Marshawn Bostic led Auburn with a season-high 18 points and a career-high 9 assists. This win led Auburn to clinch the number 7 seed in the SEC tournament, scheduled to take on the number 10 seed Arkansas in the second round.
Having not won in the SEC tournament since 2020, Auburn looked to stop that trend with a win over Arkansas. With a score of 67-48, the Tigers got their first tournament win under Coach Harris. 3 players scored in double digits with Jemiah Mingo Young, Sydney Shaw, and Marshawn Bostic all getting 11 points. Mingo Young was even close to a triple-double with 8 rebounds and a season-high 8 assists.
In the quarterfinals, Auburn took on the number 2 seed LSU for the 3rd time this season. However, the Orange and Blue could never quite get a lead and fell to the other Tigers 78-48. LSU opened the game on a 21-0 run, leading Auburn to a 25-7 deficit after the first quarter, and Auburn could not find a way back from that. Coach Harris and the team now wait for the NCAA selection show on Sunday to see if they earned a bid to this postseason.
Two players on the women's side also earned some recognition. Graduate student Honesty Scott Grayson was named to the All-SEC First Team. Scott Grayson ranked third in the SEC in average points per game with 18.3 and scored over 20 points 10 times this season. This is her first All-SEC honor, and she's the 20th player in Auburn history to be named to the All-SEC First Team. Scott Grayson was also one of 50 finalists to be put on the watch list for the 2024 Women's College All-Star Game. The game features top seniors who are likely to get drafted into the WNBA. 20 of the 50 players on the watch list will compete. Lastly, like Cheney Johnson, Carson McFadden was named to the SEC Community Service Team for the women. McFadden volunteered with the Lee County Youth Development Center, helped coordinate visits with our house, and read to students at elementary schools, among other things.
Before we jump to baseball, NFL free agency is currently taking place with trades and signings happening every minute. And Auburn's very own Carlton Davis III was just a part of one of those deals. The cornerback was traded from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the Detroit Lions, along with 2 6th-round picks for a 2024 3rd-round pick. Now we're going to move on to baseball. The Tigers were pretty busy with 8 home games within the past 2 weeks. On February 27th, Auburn played Sanford at home and cruised to a 12-3 victory. Next, the Tigers looked to take on UConn in 3-game series. In Saturday's doubleheader, Auburn split the series 1-1. In the first game of the day, Auburn beat the Huskies 8-1. But in the second matchup, the Huskies came back to win. After being scoreless in the first 8 innings of the game, UConn scored 6 runs in just the first inning of game 2, leaving them to an 8-4 win. Looking to clinch the series, sophomore Ike Irish led the Orange and Blue to an 8-2 win. Irish had his first career game with multiple home runs. He had a pair of 2-out, 2-run home runs during the last 2 trips to the plate. This continued Auburn's streak of consecutive games with home runs, with 22 on the season in just 11 games, making this the largest season opening streak since 1979. In last week's mid-matchup, Auburn hosted Air Force for their first ever meeting on Wednesday. The Orange and Blue went on to defeat the Falcons 8-4.
Rounding out their 8 games at Plainsman Park, number 18 Auburn hosted Austin Peay for a 3-game series. With a breakdown of these matchups, let's hear what Eagle Eye's Kegan Miller has to say.
Well, it's been a couple weeks since we last spoke, but in those weeks, Auburn baseball has gone 6-2 with 2 series wins. Because of Auburn's early success and an edge for scoring runs, at which they average over 9.5 runs per game, they are now ranked number 18 in the D1 baseball rankings. Most recently, Austin Peay came into town for a 3-game set. Auburn won Game 1 7-6 thanks to a game-tying homer from big lefty Christian Hall in the bottom of the 8th and a walk-off shot in the bottom of the 9th from Mason Mainers. Game 2 was a different story for the Tigers. Austin Peay got out in front of Auburn's pitching early, forcing Auburn starter Carson Myers out in just the 3rd inning. After his departure, Auburn struggled to find a rock in the bullpen to settle down the game, and eventually lost 15-6. The Tigers bounced back in Game 3 in a huge way, scoring 24 runs, holding Austin Peay to only 5. Cooper McMurray and Cooper Weiss led the team, Cooper McMurray with 4, Cooper Weiss with 3 hits, both with 4 RBIs and a double apiece. McMurray also showed his power in the 3rd with a blast over the center field wall. The pitching staff fanned 8 in the outing, and Cam Tilly was given the win after going 2 1/3, allowing just 1 earned run. Next for the Tigers is actually right now, as they're playing Troy in Madison, Alabama, in Rocket City. Connor McBride is slated to get the start. That's all I have for this week's update. Make sure you go out and watch some baseball, and I'll see y'all next week.
The Auburn Tigers are currently playing Troy right now and look to upset number 9 Vanderbilt this weekend for the start of SEC play.
Swinging over to number 25 softball, the Lady Tigers came in hot, grabbing multiple wins over the past 2 weeks. First, Auburn grabbed an 8-0 win against Georgia State on Thursday, February 29th. This was largely due to pitcher Maddie Penta, who tossed her first perfect game, and only the 3rd in program history, joining the likes of Holly Curry and Kaylee Carlson. The following weekend, Auburn then went on to host the Jane B. Moore Memorial Tournament, where they swept all the competition. The Tigers had wins against Northwestern and USC Upstate on Saturday, and then defeated North Texas and USC Upstate once again on Sunday.
Next, the Orange and Blue started SEC play with a 3-game series against number 12 Missouri. However, the team was unable to capture the series, going 1-2 on the weekend. Auburn fell to Mizzou in the first 2 games 5-2 and 5-0, but was able to avoid the sweep, winning the last game 4-0. This win was pitcher Maddie Penta's 67th win, tying her Auburn's program record that is currently held by Kaylee Carlson. In addition, after her first perfect game, honors came rolling in for Pinta. She was named the SEC Pitcher of the Week for the 6th time in her career, the most of any pitcher in Auburn history, as well as the National Pitcher of the Week for the 2nd time in her career. Auburn will host number 20 Arkansas next Friday to Sunday, as well as Troy on Tuesday. Now, Justin, with softball, Arkansas this weekend, a triple header, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
What are you thinking about the game? Who's maybe a standout player to you? What are you thinking?
I have a standout player from the other team.
Oh.
Who used to be on our team. The Bree Ellis, number 77. When she was on the Tigers, she accounted for 34 home runs. SEC Freshman of the Year. I think that this is going to be a great reunion. I'm so ready for this matchup. What do you think is going to be working for Auburn? What do you think the outcome will be of this weekend?
I mean, Maddie Pinta, like we said, multiple honors. She's been balling.
She's a baller.
She's been balling. But if you look at the history between these two teams, Auburn's lost 9 straight to Arkansas.
Yeah.
And then Arkansas goes and gets one of their best players. So it's not looking too good for Auburn. I do think they'll take one, but I think Arkansas will take the series ultimately.
I'm ready to see that one. Make sure you guys tune in this weekend. But coming up on Sports Night in Auburn, we've got you covered on gymnastics, equestrian, track and field, golf, tennis, swim and dive, and so much more. But before we get into that, we've got another trivia question.
Who is the only Auburn player in softball history to win SEC Player of the Year? Is it A, Casey Cooper, B, Maddie Pinta, C, Brandy Malero, or D, Kaylee Carlson?
Submit your answer. Grab your phones. These devices we use every day. Go check your Instagram, our Instagram stories. Go vote. Go check out our X, and we'll be with you guys right after the break.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. If you're just tuning in, I'm Jack Corbett.
And I'm Justin Stuckey. If you were just tuning in, you missed our trivia question. But if you're a returner, the answer was A, Casey Cooper. And if you picked that one, you guessed right. Cooper played at Auburn from 2014 to 2017 and holds the Auburn records for home runs, RBIs, batting average, and on-base percentage. She won SEC Player of the Year her junior season in 2016. Cooper went on to play for the United States national team, where she won a gold medal at the 2016 Women's Softball World Championships.
She was a baller.
She was a baller. I'm trying to get like her.
Yeah. Catching up with equestrian, the number 6 Riding Tigers hosted defending champs number 3 SMU Saturday, March 2nd, and almost pulled off an upset. However, the team lost 9-8 in a heartbreaker. The Tigers were able to bounce back, however, the following weekend with 2 wins. First, they took down Charleston 8-0. Then they upset number 2 Texas A&M 13-5 on senior night. 12 seniors were honored, all of whom have won the SEC championship every year since they have been on the Plains. Straight dominance. But that's not all. Sophomore Caroline Friedenberg was named the SEC Horsemanship Rider of the Month for February after going 3-0. This is her 2nd of the season and 2nd in her career. Coming up, Auburn will participate in the 2024 SEC Championships in College Station on March 29th and 30th.
On Friday, number 14 Gymnastics traveled to Athens, Georgia to take on the number 20 Bulldogs in their final SEC meet of the season. Unfortunately, they were unable to come away with the win, losing 197.550 to 196.90. Then they traveled to Baton Rouge to compete in the Podium Challenge. Unfortunately, they lost to the number 3 LSU Tigers, but scoring wins over George Washington and Texas Women's University to get 2nd place. Next, they will travel to Nashville for the Kidney Care Women's Championship on Saturday, March 16th, taking on number 6 Kentucky, Ohio State, and Fisk University.
Number 2 men's golf finished in 2nd place at the Southern Highlands Collegiate in Las Vegas, Nevada, following stellar performances from freshman Jackson Cavanagh and junior Brendan Valdez. Cavanagh also helped lead the Tigers to a 1st place finish at the Pinehurst Intercollegiate, where Auburn swept both the team and individual titles. This was Cavanagh's 1st win of his collegiate career, leading him to earn his 5th SEC Weekly Award, as well being named the SEC Freshman of the Week. More awards came rolling in for Cavanagh as he and Brendan Valdez were named to the Haskins Spring Award watch list. This award is given annually to the top male U.S. collegiate golfer. Currently, Auburn is hosting the Tiger Invitational right here on the Plains, where they share the lead with Elon after the opening round.
Over to women's golf, the number 12 Tigers placed 3rd at the Darius Rucker Intercollegiate and 4th at the Valspar Invitational. At the Darius Rucker Intercollegiate, Auburn was the best of the 9 SEC teams that competed, and even beat out number 1 ranked Wake Forest. They will take a short break before heading back to Georgia for the Liz Murphy Collegiate Classic on Friday, March 29th and Saturday, March 30th.
Swim and Dive wrapped up the regular season hosting the Last Chance meet on March 1st and 2nd. Currently, divers are making a splash at the NCAA Diving Zones qualifier and will finish out tomorrow, March 13th. The teams will next wait for the selections for the NCAA tournament. The Women's NCAA Championships will take place March 20th through the 23rd in Athens, Georgia, and the Men's NCAA Championships will follow on the 27th through the 30th in Indiana.
On to track and field, the teams closed out the indoor season with the NCAA Indoor Championships in Boston, Massachusetts, where 3 Tigers earned honors. Sanaa Barnes, Simone Johnson, Vembai, and Maisharewa all earned second-team All-American honors. Barnes for the high jump, Johnson for the triple jump, and Maisharewa for the 400 dash. More awards came pouring in for track and field, with 7 athletes getting SEC recognition. Kenyan Sola Ajayi was named to the All-SEC First Team and was also named the SEC Men's Freshman Runner of the Year, with his outstanding times in the 60-meter dash. Ryan Canan, Lewis O'Laughlin, Simone Johnson, Paula Graval, LeBron Bessick, and Max Harden were all named to the SEC All-Second Team. With the indoor season finished, the outdoor season is right around the corner, beginning March 15th at the Yellow Jacket Invitational in Atlanta, Georgia.
On to tennis, the number 12 women's team opened SEC play at home, capturing a 5-2 win against Kentucky on March 1st and taking down number 23 Vanderbilt 2 days later. They continued their winning streak at home with shutouts against Missouri 7-0 and Arkansas 4-0. Upcoming, the team looks to continue their strong SEC play and will host number 18 Florida on Friday and number 22 South Carolina on Sunday.
Men's tennis is also off to a hot start, grabbing wins against Ole Miss 4-1, UAB 7-0, Mississippi Valley State 5-0. The Tigers were unable to continue the streak against number 9 Tennessee, losing 6-1, but bounced back against Georgia and won 4-3. This win against the Bulldogs was only the 5th time Auburn has ever beaten Georgia, and the first time since 2010. Up next, they will host Florida and number 24 South Carolina at home this upcoming weekend.
To end our show, here's a look at all the upcoming Auburn athletic events.
That's all we have for you guys tonight, but be sure to follow our Instagram at EagleEyeTV_sports and our X at EETV_sports. I'm Justin Stuckey.
And I'm Jack Corbett. See you next week for more Sports Night in Auburn. Good night, and we out.